life like?
1963, I still had my drugstore, and was an active pharmacist. Um, let's see, what else? Was raising two children. Um, and that's pretty much. We had, did the normal things that people do as far as dining and entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. I had my own pharmacy in a little town called Eddystone, Pennsylvania. It was a quiet little town. And in addition to having the pharmacy upstairs, I spent a lot of time in the basement because I was very fond of woodworking. It was a hobby. And that's what I did until 1965, when I sold the drugstore. And who was in the meat processing business at the time called me and said, "I understand you want to sell your drugstore." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" I said, and explained to him why. He said, "Do me a favor. Before you do anything, stop down and see me at my office." Well, I smelled he was going to offer me something. I didn't know what. What could I offer to the meat processing business? Talked about the money. It was at least what I was earning as a pharmacist or more. I don't recall. But because of my chemistry background, I started a laboratory for it. And then after a year in the lab, I went on to different positions within the company. But we had quite a big black workforce, and I was pretty friendly with all of them, and I liked them, and I had a good time with them. Some of them didn't talk to me, but a lot of them did, and I didn't have any problem with them. I was aware of the color of their skin. It wasn't like I was blind to that, but I never had a problem working with black people or being in their company. I'm fine with that. I harbor no prejudices when it comes to blacks. If you ask me, would I want my daughter to marry a black? Why not? If he met my standards, the same as for whites, go for it.
Yep. Now, were you aware of the civil rights movements during this time period?
You bet everybody was. It was a very historical time. The civil, it was certainly needed. Yeah, even as a child, when I drove down to Florida with my aunt, there were places white only, and when you went to a restaurant, the blacks had their own little place in the back. They were terrible, treated badly.
Did you ever have that in your pharmacy?
No, because by the 60s, people were more enlightened. You didn't find, particularly in the North, you didn't find the anti-black. It was quiet. In the South, they really, they thought they were still pre-Civil War down there. But no, when I had my pharmacy, first of all, it was in a white neighborhood to begin with, and I didn't have any black customers. But of course, when JFK was elected, the civil rights movement went forward, and rightfully so. It was long due.
So, what was your thoughts, during a lot of the civil rights movement? So, did it not really affect you personally, or did it affect your lifestyle?
It didn't affect my lifestyle or me personally, except I agreed with their politics. I felt very bad for the black people. I saw how they, when they tried to get into universities, and the southern sheriffs, southern sheriffs were just real rednecks and blocked their way, and it was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. It didn't affect my life. It just was what it was. Disgrace. I thought the Vietnam War, I'm a conservative, but I thought the Vietnam War was a worthless war. First of all, the enemy was not a traditional enemy where you could just bomb or shoot and that's the end of the war. We lost a lot of lives, and I remember the demonstrations very well against the Vietnam War. And it's a shame on this country what we did in Vietnam. It was terrible. There was no real reason for us to fight over there. The Vietnam War we gained nothing. We lost everything. We lost lives. It was terrible. We were concerned with Russia, but I don't want to get off the subject.
Oh, you're welcome to. Tell me about Russia.
Russia was a communist power. Vietnam was not a power. Russia was a communist power whose aim was to dominate the world. And the United States wasn't going to stand for that because we wanted to dominate the world. Well, certainly we think a lot more liberally about civil rights in the black population. I think we've done a good job in accepting blacks as our equals. Still more to be done. And certainly Martin Luther King contributed a lot to that, but there's still more to be done. Not only by us, but them. The black people have to stand up and take education, stop this gang warfare, and live up to the standards of the American people. It's just terrible. We've got to give them jobs, we've got to give them education, so that we can accept them and have them come into our society.
Do you feel we can't accept them and see them as a part of our society until they do step up their education?
Well, I think it's limited. If the average white has this impression of blacks as gang members, they don't work much, they're poor, and they're poor. And so it feeds on itself, poverty, and however, they can get out. That's what the blacks have to overcome. They have this ghetto mentality that they're never going to get out. They can get out. It takes strong family leadership. They can get out. They haven't. They still haven't achieved that.
Going on in this period of time?
I've always been a proud American. I love this country. We don't always do the right thing politically. We make mistakes. But I love this country. I don't think I'd want to live anywhere else. I wouldn't have as good a life anywhere else as I have in this country. That's how I feel.